welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin', the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Also by B&B Lemon right across the street from the Houston location. Ian, you had set aside from earlier in the show the Apple Kolsch. The Brew GK from Eighth Wonder in Houston. You wanted to let it warm up and see what you got. What do you think?
It's actually still drinkable. On
I
some
think
later
Kolsch
beers,
is something you want really cold.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's still drinkable. It gets a little more astringent and a touch more bitter, but you definitely pick up more of the apple in there too.
Interesting.
It's not a lot. It's still not a ton of apple, but I would say this stands up even warm.
Interesting.
Oddly enough, yeah.
Yeah, for a Kolsch, it surprised me. I actually thought you weren't going to like it at all if it warmed up.
No, it's still got nice flavor to it, and sometimes when beers warm up, and macro brews are famous for this. Like when they warm up, they just get this bitter harshness to it that just is terrible and like undrinkable.
It may be that's when the weed killer really
when you really get the weed killer flavor. Right.
Yeah, I realize it's not on the ingredient label.
Or whatever they use to cold activate the can.
Yeah, right. There's got to be something that makes those cans turn color. Think about it. It's inside your can, working against your taste buds right now.
But but this one stands up, and I truly believe if a beer has good flavor to begin with, it's not that you should prefer it warm necessarily, but it should at least stand up and have good flavor still evident when it's like that. If you have to have it ice cold to mask the flavors, I think you have an inferior product.
Right.
So this is one of the reasons I always, like on beers like this especially, I try them a little warm just to see what the flavors do. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just a cold beer guy. That's why I like beer better.
Don't get me wrong. I drink most of it cold, and I'll settle aside a little bit to try it later.
Yeah, no, but I like your idea, and it's interesting that holds up actually warm for a cold. So that's pretty impressive. Well, we are bound. We are Easter bound. Easter is this coming weekend. Good Friday is tomorrow. And Easter, by the way, is the second biggest candy holiday, behind, of course, Halloween, which is the biggest candy holiday. But Easter, with its baskets of eggs and lots of candy involved in that, there's always lots of Easter candy for sale at the store. And then right after Easter, lots of half-price Easter candy available to buy. So I don't know if you are a candy person. I'm not hugely a candy person. I'm more of a chips and hot sauce person than a candy person. I appreciate something sweet every once in a while. And if you are looking at lots of Easter candy in your pantry and are wondering what to pair it with, including those Peeps, here you go. We're gonna run this down for you, okay? I don't know why you'd want to pair Peeps with your favorite craft beer, but if you do, here's what to do. Jay Brooks is a celebrated beer author. He explored recently the rights and wrongs of matching craft beer to candy. He started simple with an old-fashioned classic of Americana junk food, the Chocolate Bunny. This historic candy, he says, is the easiest to pair with beer. He says, eat your chocolate bunnies while drinking a raspberry lambic. Raspberry and chocolate are a match made in heaven. So,
I can see that happening.
That makes sense.
Framboise.
Yep, absolutely. If you're eating cream eggs, he suggests drinking a light-bodied beer, like a Weiss beer or a wit beer or an American wheat beer or maybe a Helles. He says, on the other hand, a cream stout or milk stout might work nicely, too, because of the milkshake notes that they have.
Those Cadbury cream eggs,
yeah,
they are absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
But they will destroy your palate to the point where you can't taste any sweet in anything for like a while.
Well, maybe they'd be good then with like
they will make
milk
a
stout.
Mountain Dew taste like Perrier. Like it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I get it. He writes that jelly beans are the toughest to pair because they come in so many different
There's too
flavors.
many flavors, right?
Yeah, he says they're good for experimentation, but can lead to a lot of disastrous combinations. So jelly beans, you may just want to like leave that out altogether. Finally, Peeps. He says pair Peeps with bourbon barrel-aged beers. It's easy to find, very boozy bourbon barrel-aged. Think about that. a beer like the last one we're going to try today, which is the
the
Firestone Walker 2019 Tsukaba Vintage. We're going to try that. Imagine that with
Did
Peeps.
you bring Peeps?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Peeps to me, like, who actually does anybody out there actually eat Peeps?
I know people who do. Yes.
Like, I always thought Peeps were a lot like candy corn.
See, I like candy corn.
Oh,
See, I
don't
like Peeps, but
I
like candy corn.
I have this uncle. He's such a wonderful guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
My uncle would always tell us when we were little kids. He'd come over, like, I'm gonna bring you $100 worth of candy. We used to, crack up. That was just his thing. And then he'd bring us these circus peanuts. You remember those big, puffy,
those
awful, terrible
yes,
things?
those are like one of the worst candies ever. Those
we never held that against them.
Those are in
but
line
circus
with Peeps.
peanuts are not good.
Yeah, no, they're just not delicious.
I know.
Delicious
I know. Also, my one aunt's gonna watch this and she's gonna laugh. But yeah, so yeah, Peeps though. Like, why? That's so terrible.
Well, maybe like my.
Do
friend
you
Gwen.
still like when you eat the candy corns? Do you still break the tip off and go, I broke my tooth? And
No, I haven't done that in quite some time. But thanks for the reminder. Maybe this Halloween I will.
this is such an incredibly authentic sound.
Yeah, I know. It sounded just like someone opening a can of beer.
That's
didn't
amazing how you do that.
Amazing how it can be created like that. We have this very high-tech sound effects creation program here on the show. I am pouring, and I'll give this to Ian to display in the beer cam momentarily, but I am pouring Odell's Seasonal, which is their Tree Shaker. It's an Imperial IPA, so it's going to have a fairly high ABV. Says it's brewed with local peaches. Because who would want peaches from another neighborhood over? It's an Imperial IPA.
Especially if you're going to the country.
That has roots. I got it. I totally got it.
And you're going to eat a lot of peaches. I couldn't stop myself from finishing that. I'm sorry.
The best line in that song is, peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man. That's the best line in that story. It says here that this Imperial IPA has its roots in Colorado. Familiar citrusy hop notes balanced with sweet local peaches give the style a playful little shake. I love Odell Brewing out of Fort Collins, Colorado. I think they are
their 90 shilling is such
wonderfully adventurous. Yes,
great Scotch ale.
I mentioned earlier the Wolfpicker IPA.
Yeah.
It's one of my absolute favorites. I'm actually looking for an ABV 8.0, 8% alcohol by volume, and I'll let you go ahead and show that.
I will tell you
to the camera.
This. Let me turn on the machine here.
Okay, very nicely done. Yeah.
All right. So
your thoughts?
I will tell you, it tastes a little bit boozy.
Yeah, it kind of does. Well, at 8.0.
And it's in a good way. Like, I like, obviously I like barley wines and big stouts and porters. I obviously like boozy beers.
I'm trying to impress you.
This is good. The flavor profile on this is really nice. It goes down nice and smooth. It's not harsh. It's not bitter. It does leave a nice bitter aftertaste, but in a nice way. But almost more like an ESB.
Sort of a hop bitter, like an ESB, yes.
Yeah, more
absolutely.
like an ESB does, not like an overly hopped IPA does.
It is very boozy for an IPA.
It is very boozy for an IPA.
Yeah.
And it's also a little malt forward for an IPA on the first, on the initial palate.
The peach is not overwhelming, but it is definitely there.
No, the peach is something that in this particular beer that you go, what is that? And when someone says peaches, you go, ah.
Yes, very well
right,
said.
that's
very well said.
It's well done like that. And once you taste it and you know what you're tasting, it's very obvious. But before that, it's not a big sweet, peach flavor. It's almost like right next to the pit kind of peach flavor. It's got some of that sweetness. But
so let me ask you a marketing question.
Okay. I was young. I needed the money.
Good to know. Close your eyes for a moment, and now imagine that I had poured this in your cup there out of a bomber, and that I told you it was $17.99 at my downtown Specs. Now take a drink of it and tell me, would that, as opposed to it coming out of a can that you can buy in a 6-pack, would that change your feeling about it anyway, your expectations for it? I'm wondering, does marketing work?
So honestly, I don't think I'd be unhappy with this if you were sharing it like that and that's the way it came. I would say this is a really nice offering. I think if they're making a beer this good that they're putting in a can and just tossing out there, says something about the company. I mean,
you're right, because this is a more quote-unquote normal release, even though I know it's a limited time release.
Right.
But this isn't something where they're going, hey, this is among the most, wildly crafted things we're doing.
And
right?
I think, though, here's one of the marketing issues with that, because a lot of people go for a lot of those special edition releases and those kind of things. I wonder if the people that go for those kind of special editions and pay the $19 to $26 for a bomber would pass this over, because it does look a little passé because it's in their standard marketing package.
Yeah, right. It looks very much like their normal line of beers.
And the only way to know that this isn't one of their normal beers is when you turn the beer around, it says limited. Right there it is.
Yeah, but it's not like a huge banner flying around the top of the can or anything. It's
right. There's nothing about this that says limited release except for that little tiny thing. So the question is this: does it work in the opposite way? Because frankly, if you can get something this good just out of a can, I mean, like, to me, something that's available most of the time like this that is this kind of good, I go for that.
If this were something they were putting out, it says limited, not seasonal.
Right.
But if I knew this was coming out next year, in the spring, I'd be like, ooh, is that Odell out yet? This is something I'd be waiting for.
Right, right.
Sort of like you and I are about, the Oktoberfest from St. Arnold.
Springbok,
and the Springbok, which I had one of this week and is awesome.
I'm trying to snap up the last few six-packs of that I can find out there. So if you see one, I'm just saying my birthday's at the end of the month.
Gotcha.
Matter of fact, it's in about a week.
Yeah, we're going out we're doing a little dinner for your birthday.
Just saying.
Coming up. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, well, I'm going to recommend this pretty highly. In fact, and here's what I don't remember. I don't remember if it comes in 4-packs or 6-packs, but either way, I'm going to tell you, this is not a juicy IPA, by the way.
No.
It's not. That's not the style of it at all. It's definitely an Imperial, got the booziness to it, and just that hint of peach. Like Ian said, if you're going, what is that flavor? And somebody said peach, you'd be like, right. Yeah. That's the degree to which it's peachy, but it's just delicious.
But it starts also as a little more malt forward IPA, which is a little more unusual now day and age.
And I'm guessing you're going to want to set a little bit of this aside and drink it slightly more.
I am.
I had a feeling,
because I'll probably enjoy this as much or better.
I kind of know how you. Operate. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to taste some rum. As a matter of fact, this is not the world's most creative rum name, but it's called Dos Ron, and I have a feeling it's because there's 2 guys named Ron that are responsible for this brand and for doing the distilling. And
did you translate that yourself?
I did. Dos Ron.
That's
I
amazing.
worked really, really hard on it. Actually, Ron means rum, right? But I'll show you on the label. There's 2 guys in the silhouette, right? So I'm thinking, okay, they're both Ron. This is my investigative reporting.
If not, they are now.
They are now. Both of them are named Ron. This is the Solera 16 Años. It's aged for 16 years, and I'm really excited about your being able to try this. I'll tell you why. Coming up, also, the celebs have been busy. Sammy Hagar has a new tequila. Remember, he was responsible for Cabo Wabo.
Cabo Wabo, yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know whether they've changed the formula on it. I have not had it in a long time, but for many years that Cabo Wabo Reposado was a go-to for me as a tequila guy. So he has a new one. He sold Cabo Wabo a long time ago.
The Red Rocker.
Yeah, and Bob Dylan, by the way, has a whiskey which came out last year. We reviewed one of the iterations here on the show, and he is now building this distillery, which will be a sort of a tourist attraction, a thing for people to come and visit, and it's going to have a performance space and live music.
Hey, if anybody out there knows Bob Dylan, tell him to send us whiskey to try.
Yeah, that's right. We've only been able to try one of the iterations so far. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. It is Smoking and Toast, and thank you for hanging out with us.